undocumented migrant decided to go into a Taylor Swift dance class today and stab 6 little girls. That's right, somebody arrived in the UK on a boat. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knows where he's from. The media is, of course, hiding the fact that this is a 17-year-old male. They don't want to highlight how ridiculous it is that we allow military-age males, combatants, to flood our shores. I don't see any protests in the UK. I don't see anybody complaining. Nobody's outside of the school. Nobody's outside the police station. The soul of the Western man is so broken that when the invaders slaughter your daughters, you do absolutely fucking nothing.
Anarchy in the UK. Let's get into it.
Ooh, you are listening to the Billy Flint Experience.
Thank you so much for joining me tonight. You're coming live here from Germany. I am your host, Billy Flint, and this is the Billy Flint Experience. Yes, for a lot of people who don't know, and which should know because it's been all over the media for the past 2 weeks, the unfortunate unaliving of 3 very young ladies, it took place in the UK, which is a sad, sad situation. But we had at the top a comment from Andrew Tate, which was one of the individuals who flamed the unrest that has taken place in the UK. It's all over the UK, actually. There's been rioting, destruction, looting all over what was supposed to have been the safety of the children in the UK. And again, we're going to take this very, very slowly because it's such a tragic event. Because as I said, it started out as a public outcry for these 3 young ladies who were brutally unalived. But again, we're gonna take it slow, and we're gonna actually listen to the public. And again, we're gonna get more into it. We're gonna read the article, which was actually written by the BBC over in the UK, over in England. But we're gonna listen to. I have a recording of the public and the public outcry of what was supposed to have been the reasoning for the demonstrations, which led to rioting. And again, it all started from the misinformation, but we're gonna take it back to the top here.
So an undocumented migrant decided to go into a Taylor Swift dance class today and stab 6 little girls. That's right, somebody arrived in the UK on a boat. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knows where he's from. The media is, of course, hiding the fact that this is a 17-year-old male. They don't want to highlight how ridiculous it is that we allow military-age males, combatants, to flood our shores. I don't see any protests in the UK. I don't see anybody complaining. Nobody's outside of the school. Nobody's outside the police station. The soul of the Western man is so broken that when the invaders slaughter your daughters, you do absolutely fucking nothing.
Look here, 3 girls were killed by that kid in Southport.
It's an act of violence that shattered the peace of the summer holidays in a seaside town.
3 girls were killed.
BB King, Elsie Stankham and Elise Aguirre.
However, 186,000 Palestinians have been killed, most of them are children. Do you see us burning every synagogue that supports the Israeli regime?
Another fire, another night of chaos.
Anti-immigration rioters attack a hotel in Rotherham.
Do you see us holding innocent people responsible?
Crowds clashing with police outside a hotel where immigrants are being housed.
Yeah, you don't. We're coming in peace. And imagine our anger. Imagine how we feel every day in Chechnya, in Syria, Iraq, Palestine, Kashmir, Mali, Libya, everywhere. We see our children killed. We don't behave in a manner that you see these hooligans behaving in because they don't care for their girls. They're here for violence and they're here because they hate us. A black Christian man born in Wales killed them girls.
Axel Rudakabana is 17, British, born in Wales and of Rwandan heritage.
But who they're directing their anger at? They're directing it at Muslims only. Why? Because their agenda is anti-Islam, straight up.
This is our fucking country, not fucking theirs.
I'm here to save the kids. The children have been murdered. There's been a massacre on the street.
They got the targeting little white girls all over the country. Let's call a spade a fucking spade.
It's like Russian roulette at this point. Which one's going to be next? No one questioned why BLM were out. No one questions why Palestine are out. We're saving the kids. We're stopping the boats. We're closing the borders. Look how mad we've all gone. This is real women. This is lionesses. This is the lion roaring. I'm not racist and I don't give a fuck what you say.
Then who's trying to kill our kids?
Policies that politicians put in place, yeah?
Stop the boats! Stop the boats! Stop the boats! Stop the boats!
They're calling us far right. We're not far right. We're all fathers and parents of children. These immigrants are coming in without paperwork. We're lying about their ages. We don't know nothing about the background, and that's what it's about.
We don't want to be branded far right. You know, we're here for the right reasons. I want my kids to know I didn't stay silent. Leave our kids alone.
It's about children that have lost their lives in this city, and we're passionate about that up here.
We're not racist. We've got Muslim friends. Our country has benefited from migration. However, it's just getting overwhelming. We're a very small island. It's become a security risk.
Religion means fuck all, lad. I'm not arsed. This is about people coming in. They could be Christians from Somalia or wherever, and the fucking wrong-uns. That's what it is. We're letting wrong-uns in. This is not religious. That's bollocks. Fucking bollocks. This is about the wrong-uns they're letting in. You can be a Christian, you can be whatever. You're coming in, you've got no intention of fucking helping the country. You're here to cause trouble. You're here to take and thieve and steal. You're here to stay for nothing. So, unfortunately, that's a no-no.
There's 50,000 people here on an MI6 list, isn't there? Start with them, get rid of them, get rid of the people who are killing kids, raping kids, get rid of them.
Stop the boats, kick them out. There's too many of you here. You don't respect our country, you don't respect our religion. All you think about is Aisha, because she was 9 years old. That's what you're all into. Paedophilia.
Listen, there's a message for George Soros, yeah? Britain will never fall. We don't care how many globalists, yeah? George Soros, yeah? You globalist scumbags, yeah? Import as many of them as you want, yeah? Guess what? Christ will prevail, yeah?
This world is so corrupt. Labour's supposed to love the North West, supposed to be for the working class. They've stabbed the real people who has got real concerns. They've stabbed a lot of us in the back. And we're supposed to stand here and let everybody call us right-wing and Nazis. I've got Asians in my family. I ain't racist one bit. What I am is scared of this government.
We've now got two-tier Kia coming on the news and having the audacity to call the general public far-right.
I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery we've seen this weekend.
I've seen all this coming. No one wanted it. We've tried to warn about it, and I'm still going to try and warn about it. I don't want to fight anybody. We don't want wars with Muslims. I don't think it's a good idea attacking mosques at all. I'm not a conservative either. I'm not an anarchist. I want a decent party that cares about the people. That's all we want. Every person, doesn't matter where you're from.
OK, so if Tories weren't the answer, Labour wasn't the answer, who is?
I'm not a politician and I'm thick as pig shit, but I can talk to people. I've never been to school, I can only write my own name, but I've got an heart as big as a lion, and I'll stand there against anybody for the sake of our country. People need to wake up against Labour. These are the rats. We're not racist, we're scared.
Everybody out there who's not acting and is not on this street now, get out there and act. Don't call yourself a man unless you're out here. Don't call yourself a man. Simple as that. You don't fight for your country. You don't push back the invaders. You're not a man.
If we don't fight now, it's going to come to our kids having to fight, and they're not going to win it. They're not going to win the fight. So I don't want the violence. We've got to try and do it peacefully. But this has to be the final straw where there's a clear message sent to those in charge that you either step up or you step aside now.
The media absolutely corrupt. They lied. There wasn't a single member of the EDL there. There weren't a member of the far right there. There was little girls, older women. There was older men. There was young men, middle-aged men, outraged at what the government's allowing to happen to us. What the government's allowing this cancer to do to us. This cancer that's grown within our nation. We need to stop it.
My children were abused by social services, and Merseyside police have covered it up. They've got a hidden grooming gang that won't be released to the public. Defund the BBC. The media are the lies. The media is the virus.
Much like at protests in the United States, a line of riot police who sustained minor injuries throughout the course of the day had formed a sort of demilitarized zone between nationalist stop-the-boats protesters and an equally sized counter-protest of mostly left-leaning Liverpool locals who showed up in person to confront a mob of who they believed to be far-right racist protesters.
They're all inbred. Yeah, they need a dentist. They're not interested in, children that were killed in Southport. They just want to cause a fight. We're a multicultural city, a city of sanctuary, and I hope they get lost.
What do you think the solution is? Throw them all into the sea. That's what the chant says.
Solution is, well, to get rid of capitalism and have a social society, and then these people would be catered for, not blaming it on fucking immigrants and refugees.
Despite this frontline tension, it appeared that the vast majority of counter-protesters weren't actually interested in having a direct confrontation with English nationalists, and instead had organized their own rally at nearby St. George's Hall in support of migrants and refugees.
Refugees are welcome here. Oh, someone's just got married. Oh. See, this is Liverpool, and the far right is trying to threaten that.
A quick explanation, what happened in Southport?
Obviously, there was a horrible attack in which 3 children lost their lives. What happened since then was a massive lie about the identity of that attacker, which was, led by the likes of Tommy Robinson.
After murdering and raping and pillaging 1,400 Jews, look how confident they've become across the entire West.
Of Lawrence Fox, of other far-right people online.
So an undocumented migrant decided to go into a Taylor Swift dance class today and stab 6 little girls.
Also the likes of Nigel Farage is complicit.
We will only stop this if we start deporting people that come illegally.
This led people in Southport, racists and far-right people, to feel emboldened to come out on the street and to attack a mosque that had no connection to the identity of the attacker. I think it's also important to say that even if the attacker was a Muslim or a migrant, or the things that they were lying about, it still does not license the far-right attacks on communities we've seen around Britain. So people around the country today are actually protesting. I think, people here feel a part of something bigger. In Manchester, they got pushed back this morning. In Liverpool, we pushed them back outside the mosque last night. People who are here today are proud to stand in a multicultural Britain, and, the far-right's trying to threaten that.
I don't think there is anything special about what's happening in the UK. I think it's a reflection of what's happening internationally, in that you've got a crisis of capitalism, living standards for, in society going downhill, just a general crisis of the system. Far-right groups, obviously what they do is they latch on to the deep anger that exists. They build in the most impoverished areas of the country, and they basically try and divert that anger away from class struggle against the bosses and against, first the Tories and now Labour, and they rile a lot of very young people up, young men up, with very toxic ideas, and they send them out to go and attack migrant communities. That's a real threat we have to take seriously. And if the left doesn't have a convincing alternative that's based around mass struggle, that's based around fighting back in that kind of way, the far right seeps in. You've seen it in France. I think the end game of these far right groups is obviously to just create a society where there's mass expulsions of migrant workers.
We need to tell those people the alternative march. We need to get truth through to them, and that's important. It's all right, Steve. We're suffering the rages of capitalism. We're suffering the rages of, if Tony Blair didn't go and cause a fucking war in Iraq, or at least support that fucking war, if we weren't selling bombs to everyone across the planet, those people wouldn't be being bombed out their homes and having their land just stolen from them because of oil, because of agriculture, because of water and everything else. They'd be happily sitting in their homes, most of them, and they wouldn't be running to anywhere they can possibly get to save their children being blown to fucking smithereens. That's why, and I don't get it why people don't get that. If you have a problem with immigration, I'd have respect for you if you went out on marches and told the government enough is fucking enough. No more bombing or creating wars in other places. And if we are this powerful, powerful country, and you are genuinely these powerful, powerful politicians, take on these other fuckers across the planet and negotiate with them and create peace. It's not going to be easy, but you can at least fucking try.
Really, to tackle all these problems, we need to transform society to a socialist one and create like a society where wealth is shared more equally amongst the people that create it, which is the majority of the working class people, you know, the capitalists who own everything. They pit us all against each other along the lines of like race, being LGBT, men and women, you know what I mean? Like we're all divided. So we're coming together, but more importantly, a sharing of like all of the wealth in the world will kind of do away with that sort of racism. And it's not an easy task, but yeah, that's why we're here. Like, yeah, people are obviously angry and they're all out together, so we want to like reach those people.
You know, it's a hard battle.
You know, I know it's kind of like big task, and I know it's not easy, but I think like, you know, like when we fight together, we can achieve like real change. Yeah.
Cool. You know, we need to build a new party that'll like fight to defend the interests of working class people. You know, the fact that our NHS is in such a bad state, rather than blaming that on migrants, let's enter into struggle to fight back against the private companies that are making huge profits. You know, I think the real answer is class struggle, you know, uniting as a working class to fight for all of our interests, whether you're a migrant worker, British born. You know, it's about building that working class solidarity.
I believe in living in a kingdom that's good and true.
Shortly after the Stop the Boats protest and counter-protest both dispersed, threats were reported to have been made online by members of the right-wing English Defence League targeting a nearby mosque, prompting a standing army of Arab teenagers to assemble with the purpose of standing on business in the event of catastrophe. Well, not all teenagers, but mostly teenagers. In front of the mosque is where guest reporter Sanjay spoke to those youths at the beginning of the video, but there were also many other older community members who showed up to express support and solidarity.
We cannot translate racism in this country. We are totally against EDL in their principles, in their foundations. They don't want any Muslims to be in this country. This country needs us. There's no...
What these people do here, brother, the police intimidate.
Relax.
It makes me feel angry. I get frustrated. Yes. But because I am Muslim, I have to be calm about this. You know, I have to be calm.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir. You get me? The soldiers, the lions of Allah are all out today.
Bring the EDL.
We've come to stand up against these EDL fascists that have come to our town and that are telling us that how their town's meant to be run when most of them are junkies, smackheads, crackheads, and they're not contributing to this community or this society. How are the government letting people like this come here and cause a disturbance? We've got to stand up to them. We've got to show them that we're not scared of them. We ain't backing down from no one.
It's fucking the low scum.
And then you've got officers like this here swearing at us, calling us fucking fannies and this and that, where he thinks he's bad with a bat in his hand. Put everything down, man to man. Arrest me after that, no problem.
Our minorities are looking after the country, and this is how we get treated. We don't deserve to get treated like fucking shit. Yo, we're fucking equal to everyone over here.
Why do you think race matters to them?
I don't know. They've got nothing better to do. They've no logic.
They're brainwashed. That's what it is, they're brainwashed, they don't know what's going on. They've got one leader called Tommy Robinson that they all go off.
While all these idiots have been rioting, they don't know Tommy Robinson has fled the country. So you're all out for the cause here and the leader isn't even in the country. He can't live in his own country that he loves so much.
So is violence the answer?
Violence isn't the answer, love's the answer.
Violence is not the answer, but our religion tells us to stand up against kuffars that are not merciful, that are zalims, that are kuffars, and that's why we've come here together, to stand together.
There's people like Jews that stand with us, there's Christianities that stand with us, there's Hindus that stand with us. On the camera, you can see thousands of us are here. We are protecting the mosques that happen in Stoke, in Sunderland, in Liverpool, in many other towns. But we're standing as one because we want what's right. We want peace. We are fighting for what's right.
Stay united. Come together. Protect your mosque. Protect your families. If they are coming down to hunt you, to kill you, to trouble you, please do a self-defense. Defend yourself and defend your ideology and restrict them in your cities, in your towns. If you don't do that one, they will come to your house and they will chase you.
Okay, so we had many different individuals speaking on a situation that has taken place in the UK. And as I said at the top of the podcast, is that it started out again from the unaliving of 3 young girls. And the BBC pretty much explained it. And it says that the violence in towns and cities across England and in Northern Ireland has been fueled by misinformation online, the far right, and anti-immigration sentiments. Communities have responded with a series of rallies against the riots, with thousands gathering. And again, it started back on Wednesday, which is August 7th. But it was actually on July 29th, B.B. King, which she was 6 years old, Elsie Dot Stockham, 7, and Alicia de Silva Aguirre, 9. If I'm mispronouncing these names, please forgive me. Were unalived in a knife attack at a Taylor Swift themed dance and yoga event. 8 more children and 2 adults were injured. Later that day, police said they had arrested a 17-year-old from a village nearby and that they were not treating the incident as terror-related. And then from there, supposedly that's when all of the misinformation started, because of the fact that they didn't name the individual. The alternative right of the UK actually went online and spread misinformation saying that this was actually a terrorist attack by Muslim immigrants, which is totally untrue. And you have certain individuals that is behind this misinformation being spread, and that's why it took such a violent turn from what ultimately started out as rallies and demonstrations to protect the children in the UK. And now it has went all out and became a situation where it's based on the Muslim community, the Arab community in the UK. And you have what we have now, which is anarchy in the UK. And it doesn't seem like there is an end to this, because it has really gotten out of hand. Now, this is no different than any other demonstration or riot in any other country, because you have the situation now where they're calling this, in the UK, they're saying they're taking on the moniker of the Black Lives Movement in the United States. They're calling this European Matters. And this is pretty much directed at any immigrant or immigrants or asylum seekers or anyone that's not a full-blood British or English individual. Now, the person that the young man that is behind the knife attack, his name is Axel Rudakabana. Again, if I'm saying that name wrong, please forgive me. Axel Rudakabana, which is 17 years old. He's a British citizen, born in Cardiff to Rwanda parents. Now, he wasn't an immigrant. Well, some would argue that point and say that, well, he's not he's not a white he's not a white British. And I'm giggling at this because this is where everything kind of gotten convoluted and gotten out of hand. Because again, it has started from the misinformation on the internet. And again, you have to blame, well, you know, I can understand that the reason the authorities were not releasing the individual behind this knife, the knife attack, it's because of the fact at the time he was still considered a minor. He just turned, I think, 18 over the past week. So technically he was still a child, and they didn't want to release the name of the individual. And because of that, the public took it upon themselves. Not everyone, but pretty much the people in the alternative right have taken it upon themselves, going online, on the internet, on social media, and put out this misinformation. And that's why you have this attack towards Muslims that are citizens in the UK. Now again, this is nothing new, because you have the same thing here in Germany. You have the alternative right here in Germany that is kind of fueling the same type of hate on the asylum seekers that has been influx of people from Syria over the past 10 years. And the same sentiments here is in Germany, and the same sentiments are the same thing in the United States. But in the United States, they're not taken to the streets and rioting. There are protests, there are smaller protests, but it's not rioting. It's not to this extent. And reports are coming out of Brooklyn, New York, that the community is upset at the asylum seekers or the migrants that are coming in. First, they were coming into the city of New York, but now they're being pushed into the communities of Brooklyn, and the citizens in Brooklyn are upset. And they're speaking out, but they're not protesting to this point, but they're basically speaking out that they're opening up a lot of shelters within this community. And they're not spreading it out. They're just pretty much pushing the migrants into Brooklyn neighborhoods. And the citizens are saying that, okay, that they're getting a little upset at this. So it's not anything special that's anything different with what's going on in the UK that is not going on in other places throughout the entire planet, in other countries. But again, this situation has taken place. It has taken on a whole other face. And again, this has become a racist situation in the UK. And again, you have not everyone. Let's say not everyone, not every citizen, because you have, you have many groups of people that are saying that they're not for the racism that's taking place when it's, towards the Arab community. And then you have people that support the Arab community, the Muslim community, and they're saying that they're for the integration for everyone. Multiculturalism is what they call it. Multiculturalism is what they call it. So it's not everyone, but again, it has become a situation where it started out from one point of the demonstrations, and it has unfolded into a point of racism. So, again, a lot of I find it interesting because a lot of people outside of the UK is not really following its story. And being that I'm here in Germany, an expat here in Germany, and coming from the United States, an American living in Germany, I tend to look at a lot of these current events from the standpoint. I lived in London, actually. I lived in the UK, lived in England before, and I have to say, honestly, I've never experienced any racism. I don't know, maybe because of the fact that they knew that I was from America. So I don't know, the British, the English, they're a little bit more welcoming to Americans. But again, this thing has unfolded into something very nasty. I'm going to keep an eye on this and see where this actually go. And again, at the top of the podcast, I had Andrew Tate. That was Andrew Tate that spoken. Again, he was one of the individuals, and because of the following that he has, he's spoken, put this video out on X, also known as Twitter, or it was named Twitter before. But he put this video message out on X, almost calling for a riot, calling for a civil unrest. Totally putting out misinformation. And he calls himself a Muslim. Go figure. But we're gonna keep an eye on this. And also I have to send my respects and applause to Piers Morgan, because Piers Morgan actually interviewed Andrew Tate. It was a very, very good, very, very, very good interview. And it's on YouTube. I guess you just type in Piers Morgan and Andrew Tate. And Piers Morgan drilled Andrew Tate. And Andrew Tate had nothing to say. I think the interview was maybe half hour, 45 minutes tops. And it was almost at the end of the interview when Andrew Tate actually apologized for putting out the misinformation. But through all of that, Piers Morgan was drilling him, trying to get him to understand the danger of misinformation, or the danger of putting out misinformation to millions of his followers. And it took him almost to the end of that interview to actually say, okay, I was wrong. But he made excuse after excuse after excuse of how he felt the need of what he had to say about, again, the unaliving of these 3 young girls. I would like to personally send out my prayers to the families of these 3 young children that lost their lives, and also the other children and adults that were injured in this knife attack. It was a sad situation, but again, one thing, it seemingly, from the way I sit and view this, one thing doesn't add up to the next. For the civil unrest that has now taken place in the UK. Now it has become a situation where it's just people out. And I'm thinking that the people that are out rioting and the people that are out spewing this racism, they're using that attack on those children as an excuse to view or to spew their racist views. And it's very, very dangerous. It's not needed. And it's basically turning the UK into a hotbed. So we're going to keep an eye on this, see how this unfolds. Hopefully things will, and I would say hopefully things will go back to normal, but the way it looks now, because you have two different communities head to head against each other. And again, the Muslim community, the Arab community are standing down on this, and they're not allowing the citizens or some of the citizens to attack them and their families, and their mosque is being attacked and vandalized. Their homes are being vandalized. And there's plenty of video on YouTube where a lot of people have been actually uploading this, and it seems now that the UK government officials are actually putting people in jail for putting misinformation out on social media. So they are taking a stance on this, and they are trying to reel back in this discord of civil unrest that is taking place over there. So again, we're going to keep an eye on this, and as reports come in, I'll continue to research this and bring the information to you here on the Billy Flint Experience. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. I'm your host, Billy Flint, and you're coming here live from Germany. Have a wonderful, wonderful start of the week. And people, please be safe out there. And we'll be back with you again soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful night and or morning, wherever you're at in the world.
Go on, you've got another 5 seconds. Say something outrageous.
You dirty bastard.
Go on, again.
You dirty fucker.
What a clever boy.
What a fucking rotter.
Well, that's it for tonight.